Good morning, traders. My name is Charles. This is the Pirate Traders live stream, and today is Friday, April 1st. So let's get the party started. All right. What happened yesterday in the markets? Well, we've had this big, strong trend to the upside that's been going on in the markets over the last few weeks. And yesterday, we saw that trend kind of officially come to an end. We had value overlapping to lower all day long. That gave us a signal that the momentum to the upside, the new excess we had been creating, was coming to an end. There's two ways we could balance off that excess. One way would have been for the market to just go sideways, so to have sort of found the support in the lows we had earlier on in the day yesterday and then continued higher. That would have set us up to balance off the excess with time, but instead it appears we need to balance off the excess with price. Okay, which is the alternative option. So yesterday, we obviously with value being lower, we've begun a new trend to the downside. We also had a spike down that was a very large spike down yesterday, and the overnight traded inside the spike. So we will be opening both inside yesterday's range, but also inside the spike. So opening inside yesterday's range increases the odds of chop early on in the day. But the fact that we're opening inside the spike down from yesterday is bearish for continuation lower. So that is a little bit bearish to see. And as far as the conversation of balancing off excess using price, not time, if that's what the market is doing, it should need to head down and test these highs from the previous balance area, right? This is where the excess begins. So we would need to pull back down and look for support around that same area for continuation to the upside. So one target to consider today would be the balance area high from the previous 3-day balance that we had. And that is at 45.13 to the downside. And then just below that is a very large node of volume on the cumulative at about 4,500. And oftentimes when we break from one of these big nodes, we move to the next. So we went from this big node here. We went up and tested this one. Okay. Tapped that, turned around, headed straight back down to this one. Okay. We spent all day yesterday during that two-sided trade bouncing around. And then when we broke this larger node, it would make sense to head down to the next one. So looking for support around the 4,500 to 4,515-ish area. If that breaks today, then we're looking at a larger pullback. And we've got some weakness that we left behind, over the last few weeks that we can begin to target for repair. Don't think that's going to happen today. I think the worst case scenario is testing these highs around 45.13, but we'll have to wait and see. Okay. As far as a bullish narrative, how could the market turn around and push higher? Well, it's going to have a lot of resistance on the base of that spike down. But if it can get back up into, yesterday's value area, we could look for continuation higher. But I suspect it will have a very hard time getting through this level. So we are bearish, but expecting chop. If you have not pushed that like button yet, I sure would appreciate it. There's 53 people here. We got 20 likes. I bet you if we can get like 40 likes, we'll suddenly find that there's like 80 people here. And who knows, one of those 80 people might have a great idea that they share in the chat. So I think it's worth pushing that thumbs up button. But that's just me. Design knob April Fool's. I thought about doing an April Fool's joke. I thought about coming out and being like, I got an insider tip that this is going to happen or something. But then I was like, no thanks. Diego, good morning to you. Scooball, welcome. Sanju in the house. FRM back with us. Arthur is here. Ronald, good to see you. Cyrus in the house. Sam and River with us bright and early this morning. Howdy to you. MW, good morning. Novice Trader, how's it going? Amir is here. Jose and Phoenix, welcome. Rev in the house. Design Knob, Philip. And Hustler Forever. Welcome, Jack. Trading Ducky. We'll block the new guys too. Copy that. Oh, we did it. We got to 40 likes. Thank you, guys. Let's see if that brings us like 80 viewers. Bet you it does. All right, looking for resistance up here around 45, 46 to continue the chop. Boss man, good morning, Charles. I think we need more of your pre-market analysis. I gave you all I had. People have always asked me, like, can you start earlier? Can you start like 10 minutes before the market opens? But then what happens is 5 minutes later, I've run out of things to talk about. All right, next potential support is going to be around 45.32. Once again, we are a little bearish with the spike down and opening inside the spike, but we do expect the market's going to grind around a little bit here. We can get really bearish if we break yesterday's low. Once again, to head down to like 45.13 and look for support there. Chief, good morning to you. Nor Auto Trader in the house. Welcome. Nicholas, happy Friday to you. J Trader, welcome. Scooball, when I was analyzing yesterday, I got the idea that tempo was the most important thing to read it. Yeah, tempo's important. It can be a tricky one, though. Like, I couldn't write a book on how to read tempo. I could read it. I can tell the message is delivering, but I couldn't explain to you how to tell. It's a tricky one. Oh, he wrote it out for us. Okay, first we grind to the downside. Stopped at the half gap fill. Then faster tempo, we filled 100%. But after getting 2 ticks below, we didn't squeeze any shorts, and then we got a push down from the POC with the biggest tempo we made liquidation. Yeah, that all sounds accurate. But I'm not sure it was that easy to read in real time. Like, you couldn't tell with a tempo change the market was about to reverse. Boss man, just say it twice. Gotcha. Well, the internals are looking good so far. They're absorbing that overnight activity while staying above the zero line on all of them. So let's see if we get any resistance here at 45.42. Or if we're able to get back above the open. Van Gilder. Charles, what is your take on the internals being bullish inside the bearish spike? That the short-term momentum is to the upside, but that the larger momentum is still to the downside? That is what that would tell me. I would not, like, as strange as it seems, because of the size of the range, I wouldn't really even be impressed by the market unless they got all the way above the base of this spike. And there's like tons of resistance between there and here. So I really don't think they're going to get up there. So what the internals being bullish tells me is that they might try. But the larger momentum that I can tell from that spike down and from the overnight staying inside the spike is to the downside. Design Knob, some data coming out in 5 minutes. Thanks for the heads up. All right, looking for support right around 45.32. Mike, the highest probability, if we have a spike in a certain direction and then we open inside that spike, is for continuation in that direction. The way you kind of think about it is like any spike down is bearish. It's always bearish. Okay. If we open above a spike down, though, it's like almost no bearish. It's not bullish, but it's just like, it's not bearish, really. It's sort of completely neutral. If it opens inside the spike, that increases the odds we're going to get continuation. That is bearish to see. And then, of course, if it opens below, if we get a gap down, that's the most bearish. That's the highest probability of continuation to the downside. But opening inside the spike is very bearish. Particularly, it's also bearish that the overnight couldn't get back. I would have thought the overnight could have easily gotten back up to here, looking for resistance. The fact that they couldn't even get up there, also bearish. But for now, we have chop. Design knob, the Q is weak. Let's take a look at the Q. Yeah, testing yesterday's low. That is bearish. Bearish. Same thing as the ES. Value completely lower yesterday. Sign of a new trend to the downside. We now have continuation of that with value being lower today. We opened inside the spike down from yesterday. We are now below yesterday's low, so that is bearish. Target to the downside, 14,737. If not there, 14,647. Or sorry, 653. It got bearish quick on the Q, as they do. So the ES is likely to follow here. We're pushing into the last little node of support that we've got for ourselves right here around 45.29. So I am looking for resistance to sell on a potential breakout below yesterday's low that would target the balance area high at 45.1350. That was the 3-day balance that we had last week. Okay. All right, with this many buyers trying to defend yesterday's low, I would expect a little bit of a liquidation once we break that 45.26 level. Squeeze out some of these late buyers here. Donkey put call ratios are all down this morning, meaning they aren't hedging on this drop. Could get ugly. And the VIX is still chilling at 20. Well, maybe the drop won't last, right? Maybe we just need to balance off the excess with price. And we'll dip right down here. Boom. Back into the previous balance. And we're good. And then we V-shape out of there. So maybe they don't need a hedge. Remember that balance area, like a balance area high or low, is not an exact science. So it doesn't mean we have to find support right exactly at 45.13. Just looking at this general area around those highs. Trading Donkey, I mean, we have decent taper here. Yeah, but look at the NQ. That's pretty bearish. Also, we have value lower once again. Second day in a row. And now a weak low with only 3 contracts at the low. So my money is for needing to break yesterday's low. And as soon as we do that, I'm looking for lower prices. A little mini murder bot here at the beginning of the B period. Somebody's doing something. Are they building a long position or a short? Oh, this is based on that news. The data that just came out. That makes sense. Donkey, feel like the liquidation was from 36 down to here, stronger buyers entering? Yeah, I mean, we'll know that now we've created a bunch of resistance above us. So if we can get through that, we'll know it's stronger buyers. But that low is weak AF right now. Ihab, is the futures market driving the cash market or the other way around? I imagine it's a little bit of both, a little push-pull. But you should assume that the futures are the main driving force because that's where most of the liquidity is. Salmon River, what do I consider to be a good number of contracts at a high or a low? I like to see at least 100. It's not one of those things I'm like obsessed about. If there's 60 contracts or whatever, okay, fine. But 3 contracts? That definitely needs more volume. All right, so we've now got the initial balance to the downside. We're starting to pull below yesterday's low. And we've got the value area pushing right up against the low of the day. So all of those are signs we may need some more excess to the downside. So we're looking for the ticks to continue to trend lower here. Screwball, NQ, pour low. Oh, yeah. Pour low on the Q. Also has that value area pushing right up against the low, increasing the odds. We need a little bit more excess down there. Looking for resistance at the halfback, 14,870. All right, well, now we're getting the buyers on the ticks. So I'm looking for a push higher here. Looking for resistance around the halfback. For the ES, 45.35. All right, looking for resistance right in here. The resistance is holding for the moment, but we want to keep these ticks below the zero line. If this thing pops back above the zero line and goes green again, we'll look for continuation to the upside. But if it can hold, continuation to the downside. Looks like they're buying. All right, bearish once again. Ticks broke. We're back below the halfback. So the repair of that poor low on the NQ is back in play. And heading back down towards that previous balance area high. Back in play on the ES. Of course, we will be very ready to see buyers step in here once again, if they do. And get back to neutral. Charles, what's got you flip-flopping so much? It's these ticks, man. This whole last tick, I couldn't tell. Were we building support to continue higher, or were we getting resistance to continue lower? And I was just waiting and waiting and waiting for a freaking signal. And now I'm getting it, that the break is lower. We have pulled the value area up a little bit, though. That's a little less bearish. Okay, so last chance for the market to find support if they want to flip it and reverse it. If not, we still need to balance with price. Salmon River, are you still on your road trip? Are you still out driving around? Yeah, it must be getting expensive out there. Okay, so now we're squeezing out all those buyers. MaxPain.exe pushed the market as high as they could there in the B period, bringing in as many longs as they possibly could in order to accentuate this push lower by squeezing all those longs out. It also looks like the NQ is about to go repair its poor low. Cyrus, the Russell's entirely opening move got reversed. Yep. But if they left a poor high, it's an excuse for them to come back later and repair it. Novice trader, do you rely a lot on tick to gauge direction? When I can't tell based on what price is doing. When price is bouncing around within support or resistance, and I just can't tell, what is it doing? Are there buyers here or sellers? Then the tick is what I turn to for confirmation. All the internals. But the tick is the one that kind of gives you the minute by minute. Greg H., I wonder about tick. Is it 3,000 stocks but 50% of the S&P by weight is less than 50 stocks? Yeah, I don't overthink it like that. It's just, I think about it just like the market as a whole, basically. As a whole, more people are selling right now than buying. Not too worried about which specific stocks they're buying or selling. They're selling. That's what I need to know. Coach Maz, there is repair again. Does that mean fill? Yeah. So repair means if a reference is weak, like the NQs, poor low. Okay, so it's still poor. So to repair, quote unquote, it means we need to come back down to the low and get 2 ticks below it. So the fact that it's poor means it does not have good excess. We define good excess, at least on the ES anyway, as 2 ticks. So until we get 2 TPOs, until we get 2 of these letters below that A period low, we assume it is still poor and in need of repair. Scuba, a lot of weak buyers at the NQ. Yeah, well, that's a sign that maybe they won't need much more excess to the downside. Maybe just one little poke, and then there'll be buyers. But could also be juice for a further squeeze to the downside. Everyone piling in right here. What happens if you pop lower? You start to pop lower, they're going to get squeezed. All right, so on the ES here, we've left some single prints behind, right exactly to yesterday's low, which is where I would be looking for resistance either way. But now that we've left these single prints behind, we've slightly increased the odds. The market needs to push up there looking for resistance. Cordman, on the NQ, there was a VPOC from Monday around 14,830. I assume you mean like an untested VPOC? Well, it got tested. I still think that poor low needs repair, though. I know there are buyers stepping in, but the market doesn't like to leave unfinished business. Not when it's worked so hard to get down here. Why leave those buyers waiting down there behind? I got so busy waiting for that resistance, I forgot to switch streams. All right, so with that, I must bid you all farewell and say au revoir, goodbye. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and look forward to seeing you here on Monday morning. If you're a member of the brigade, I will see you on the private stream. As far as leaving you with what to expect for the rest of the day, I am still of the belief that we are going to start trending lower here. It's the combination of the fact that we opened inside the spike down and then pulled lower. We're pulling the value area lower, and we still have that poor low in need of repair on the Q. So whilst I'm not feeling terribly bearish, there are buyers stepping in here. It feels to me like the momentum is still to the downside. What will change my mind would be getting above on the ES 4535. If we can get above this node, we built a lot of resistance in here this morning. So if we can get through this, we might try to go back and head up towards the base of the spike from yesterday. But for the moment, I think the momentum is still to the downside. Trade safe, enjoy your Friday, and we will see you on Monday. As far as to the downside, if we do continue lower, as I mentioned all day, I think there's lots of support waiting for us down here in the 4500s. Okay, bye.